Magnesium is the first thing most seniors reach for when leg cramps keep waking them up at night. And if what you're reaching for is a tiny spoonful of pumpkin seeds, that might be the very reason the cramps never stopped. You did the right thing. You looked it up. You found a list somewhere. Maybe your doctor mentioned it. Maybe you saw it online, and it said pumpkin seeds, spinach, almonds. Magnesium-rich. Good for cramps. So you started eating them. And the cramps came back anyway. 3 in the morning. The same calf. The same jolt. The same 10 minutes of pacing your hallway in the dark. And you thought, this doesn't work. Magnesium doesn't work. Maybe nothing works. That is the mistake. Not the food. Not the mineral. The way you were told to use it. For years, decades, the standard advice has been simple. If you're getting leg cramps, eat more magnesium-rich foods. It sounds reasonable. It sounds complete. Most seniors believe that once a food carries the label magnesium-rich, even a modest serving should be enough to calm a nighttime cramp. However, and this is where everything changes, data from the NIH Office of Dietary Supplements and a Cochrane systematic review on magnesium for skeletal muscle cramps tell a very different story. The label alone is not the answer. What matters is how much magnesium you're actually getting in a real-world portion, how much of it your body can absorb after 60, and whether magnesium is even the only mineral involved. That gap between what you were told and what actually happens inside your body is the reason the cramps keep coming back. And it is not your fault. My name is Dr. David Collin, and I need to be clear with you about something before we go any further. This is for educational purposes only. Always discuss changes with your own doctor. What I'm going to share with you today comes from published clinical research. But your body, your medications, your history, that's between you and your physician. I'm here to give you what most people never get, the full picture. After 60, everything changes, and most people aren't told why. The way your body handles magnesium at 68 is not the way it handled magnesium at 38. Your gut absorbs less. Your kidneys excrete more. And if you're on certain common medications, and I'll get to that, the math changes again. The real enemy here is not magnesium. It's the advice. The outdated, one-size-fits-all guidance that tells you to eat more magnesium foods, as if that single sentence solves a problem that has at least 6 moving parts. It doesn't. And the result is that thousands of seniors, good, careful people who did exactly what they were told, end up believing their cramps are permanent, that they're just part of getting older, that nothing works. That is not true. This is not age. This is something your body is doing, and we can fix it. But only if you understand the 6 silent mistakes that make magnesium foods look useless when the real problem was never the mineral itself. By the time I'm done, you will know exactly which mistakes are sabotaging your magnesium, and what to do about each one starting today. If that sounds like something you need, you're in the right place. Subscribing is the easiest way to keep getting these conversations. I cover the parts most people are never told. Let me show you the first mistake. And this one hits almost everyone. Picture this. You read that pumpkin seeds are one of the richest food sources of magnesium on the planet. That's true. Per 100 grams, pumpkin seeds contain roughly 550 milligrams of magnesium, according to the USDA Food Data Central Database. That number is extraordinary. But here's the problem. 100 grams of pumpkin seeds is almost 3.5 ounces. That's a heaping handful, a big one. Most people don't eat that. Most people sprinkle a tablespoon on yogurt, maybe 2 tablespoons on a salad, and a single tablespoon of pumpkin seeds. That gives you somewhere around 40 to 50 milligrams of magnesium. The recommended daily intake for a man over 60 is 420 milligrams. For a woman, it's 320. 1 tablespoon gets you roughly 12% of what you need. 12% from the food that's supposed to be one of the best sources on Earth. So how can a magnesium food still fail you? It fails you when the serving on your plate is a fraction of the serving in the data. That is mistake number 1. Choosing a food that sounds magnesium-rich, but eating a portion that contributes almost nothing in real numbers. The food isn't lying. The portion is. And it's not just pumpkin seeds. Almonds, another food every list mentions. About 80 milligrams of magnesium per ounce. That's roughly 23 almonds. Not bad, but that's still only 19% of the daily target for a man over 60. You'd need almost 5 ounces of almonds a day to hit your number from that one food alone. That's over 800 calories. Nobody is doing that. Spinach. Raw spinach. about 24 milligrams per cup. You'd need over 17 cups of raw spinach to meet your magnesium target from spinach alone. Even cooked, which concentrates the mineral, you're looking at 157 milligrams per cooked cup. Better, but still under half. Looks right. Sounds right. Fails anyway. That brings us to mistake number 2. And this one connects directly to the first, relying on one hero food. One single item that you believe is doing the job. A lot of seniors pick one food, pumpkin seeds or almonds or spinach, and lean on it as if it's the whole answer. It's not. It was never designed to be. Magnesium doesn't come from a single source. It comes from the total picture of what you eat across an entire day. Black beans at dinner, about 60 milligrams per half cup. A banana at breakfast, roughly 32 milligrams. A serving of cooked brown rice, about 42 milligrams. None of those are impressive alone. But together, combined with your pumpkin seeds, your almonds, your spinach, they start adding up. The mistake isn't choosing the wrong food. It's expecting one food to carry the weight that only a full day's eating pattern can carry. And here's what makes this worse. NAN's data, compiled by the NIH, shows that nearly half of all Americans, across all ages, consume less magnesium than the estimated average requirement. In older adults, that number climbs. After 60, dietary intake tends to drop at the same time that the body's ability to hold onto magnesium is declining. So you're eating less. Your body's keeping less. And the one food you thought was saving you is giving you a fraction of what you actually need. That's the escalation. One mistake feeds the next. A small portion of a single food, repeated day after day, creating the illusion of a plan, while the total intake stays below the threshold where it actually matters for your muscles. Most seniors never connect this to that. Today you will. Now, before I go any further, I need you to hear something that changes the entire frame of this conversation. Because the third mistake is where most people go wrong in a completely different direction. Mistake number 3. Expecting a magnesium food to work like an overnight rescue. This is the one I see constantly. A senior has a terrible night, 3 cramps, maybe 4. Can't sleep. Wakes up exhausted, scared, frustrated. And the next morning, they eat a big handful of almonds or cook up a pan of spinach. Maybe both. They go all in. And that night, cramps again. So they quit. They say it didn't work. And they're done. But food-based magnesium was never going to work like that. It is not a pill you take at 8 p.m. That silences the cramp by midnight. The body doesn't use dietary magnesium on a one-night timeline. It uses it over days, weeks. It rebuilds stores slowly. If the intake is sufficient, if the absorption is working, and if nothing else is draining it out the back door. The American Family Physician Journal has published clinical guidance noting that while magnesium supplementation is commonly tried for nocturnal leg cramps, evidence for rapid relief is limited, and the mechanism involves sustained repletion, not acute rescue. Food is even slower than supplements. That's not a weakness. That's just how it works. And this is where most seniors get fooled. They mistake slow for broken. They mistake not tonight for not ever. And they abandon the very strategy that needed more time and better support, which leads directly into mistake number 4. And this is the one that opens the door to everything else. Ignoring the system around magnesium. Because magnesium does not work alone. Your muscles contract and relax through a carefully balanced exchange of minerals. Calcium triggers the contraction. Magnesium helps the release. Potassium and sodium regulate the electrical signaling that tells the muscle when to fire and when to stop. And all of this happens in a fluid environment, which means hydration is part of the equation too. If your potassium is low, and it often is after 60, especially in seniors on blood pressure medications, your muscles don't get the right signal to relax. If your sodium balance is off, too low from over-restricting salt, or too high from processed food, the electrical environment shifts. And if you're dehydrated, even mildly, which happens faster in older adults because the thirst signal weakens with age, the whole system operates under stress. The Mayo Clinic's guidance on muscle cramps specifically notes that electrolyte imbalances, including low potassium, low magnesium, and dehydration, are among the most commonly identified contributing factors in older adults. Not low magnesium alone. The system. Are you eating magnesium? Or just the idea of magnesium? Because if you're eating a handful of pumpkin seeds every night, but your potassium is low, your fluid intake is short, and your sodium is out of range, magnesium is trying to do a job it cannot do by itself. It's like putting the right key in a lock that's been jammed from the other side. That's not a magnesium failure. That's a system failure. And no single food fixes a system. The Cochrane Review on Magnesium for Skeletal Muscle Cramps, one of the most rigorous analyses available, concluded that the evidence for magnesium as a standalone solution for leg cramps in older adults is not strong. Not because magnesium doesn't matter, but because the cramps are rarely caused by one thing. The review specifically noted that for idiopathic nocturnal leg cramps, the kind that wake you up for no obvious reason, the picture is multifactorial. Multifactorial. That's the word. It means there are multiple causes happening at the same time. And treating one while ignoring the others is why so many seniors cycle through the same disappointment over and over. I want to pause here for a moment, because I want to hear from you. I want you to drop a letter in the comments right now. If you believe magnesium-rich foods alone should calm most nighttime leg cramps, drop the letter A. If you believe the bigger issue is realistic portions, absorption, and electrolyte balance, drop the letter B. I read every single comment personally. Let me know below. And now here's the part I've been building toward. Everything I've just told you is real, and it matters. But there's something that changes all of it, something almost no one talks about. And once you understand it, you will never look at magnesium foods the same way again. Mistake number 5 is not about the food. It's not about the portion. It's not even about the system around it. It's about what your body does with the magnesium after you swallow it. Absorption. The word no one mentions when they hand you a list of magnesium-rich foods. After 60, your gastrointestinal tract changes. The lining of your stomach and intestines, where minerals are pulled out of food and moved into your bloodstream, becomes less efficient. Studies published in the journal Nutrients and in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition have documented that magnesium absorption declines with age, with estimates suggesting that older adults may absorb 25 to 30% less magnesium from the same food compared to younger adults. Think about what that means. You eat the same spinach, the same almonds, the same pumpkin seeds, but your body is pulling less magnesium out of every bite. The food hasn't changed. You have, and it gets worse. Phytates, compounds found naturally in seeds, nuts, and whole grains, can bind to magnesium in the gut and reduce how much your body actually absorbs. Oxalates in spinach do something similar. These aren't toxins. They're normal plant compounds. But they mean that the magnesium number on a nutrition label is not the magnesium number your body receives. The label says 150 milligrams. Your gut delivers 90, maybe 80. And if you're over 65 with any digestive issue, even something as common as occasional acid reflux, that number drops further. Which brings me to something I need to say carefully. This is for educational purposes only. Always discuss changes with your own doctor. If you are taking a proton pump inhibitor, a PPI, for acid reflux or GERD, listen closely. The FDA has issued safety communications acknowledging that long-term PPI use, typically defined as 1 year or more, is associated with a risk of hypomagnesemia, low magnesium, not because you're eating wrong, because the medication changes how your body handles the mineral. PPIs work by reducing stomach acid, but stomach acid is part of how magnesium gets extracted from food. Reduce the acid, reduce the extraction. The NIH Office of Dietary Supplements specifically notes this interaction. And it's not just PPIs. Some thiazide and loop diuretics, common blood pressure medications for seniors, can increase magnesium loss through the kidneys. You're eating the magnesium. Your body is absorbing some of it. And then the medication is flushing it out before it ever reaches the muscle. Not useless. Not random. Misapplied. That is the twist. That is the thing almost no one tells seniors when they hand them a list of magnesium foods and say, eat more of this. The foods are real. The magnesium is real. But the delivery system, the path from your plate to your muscle fiber, has 6 places where it can break down after 60. And if even one of those places is broken, the food looks like it failed. It didn't fail. The advice failed. It was incomplete. It skipped the steps between eating and absorbing and keeping and delivering. I'm telling you this because nobody else in this space will. Most seniors never get this far. They manage one piece of the puzzle. They eat the food. Maybe they even eat enough of it. But they missed the absorption gap, the medication interference, the electrolyte context, and that gap is exactly what keeps the problem returning. And that brings me to mistake number 6, the final one, and in some ways, the most important. Assuming every leg cramp is a magnesium problem. It's not always. Nocturnal leg cramps in older adults, the kind that strike the calf or the foot in the middle of the night, can have multiple contributing causes. The Merck Manual Professional Edition lists nerve compression, prolonged sitting or standing, electrolyte imbalances beyond magnesium, vascular insufficiency, and medication side effects among the recognized triggers. The American Family Physician Journal notes that in many cases of idiopathic nocturnal leg cramps, idiopathic means no single identified cause. The cramps persist despite magnesium correction. That does not mean magnesium was irrelevant. It means the picture was bigger than one mineral. There's one clue that tells you whether this is a food and mineral issue or a talk to your doctor moment. If you've been consistent, eating real portions of magnesium-rich foods, supporting hydration, addressing potassium and sodium for 3 to 4 weeks, and the cramps have not improved at all, or they're getting worse, or they're happening in new places, or they're accompanied by swelling, numbness, or weakness, that is a signal. That is your body telling you this needs medical review, not more almonds. And that is not a failure on your part. That is you being smart enough to know when food has done everything it can and the next step belongs to your doctor. So let me give you the full picture now. Everything we've been building toward brought together. The first thing, and this is the one that changes most seniors' outcomes immediately, audit the actual food amount. Stop trusting labels and lists. Look at what's really on your plate. A tablespoon of pumpkin seeds is not the same as 3 ounces of pumpkin seeds. 20 almonds is not the same as 5 ounces. Check the USDA Food Data Central Database if you want the real numbers per serving. Know what you're actually getting. The second, and this one surprises most seniors, use consistency, not one-night rescue thinking. Magnesium from food builds over days and weeks. It is not a fix-it-tonight strategy. One great meal does not erase a month of low intake. Commit to a daily pattern. Small amounts from multiple sources across breakfast, lunch, and dinner. That is how food-based magnesium actually works. The third, check the pairing context. Are you getting enough fluid through the day? Are you eating potassium-rich foods alongside the magnesium? A banana, a baked potato, a cup of white beans? Is your sodium in a reasonable range? Not too restricted, not too high? Magnesium needs the rest of the team on the field. Without potassium and proper hydration, it's playing alone. So to be clear, magnesium does not work in isolation. It works inside a system of fluid and mineral balance. That is it. And the fourth, the one I see people skip the most, review the blockers. If you're on a PPI, a diuretic, or any medication that touches your kidneys or your stomach acid, that medication may be changing how much magnesium your body actually keeps. Don't stop anything. Don't change anything on your own. But bring this question to your doctor. Say, could any of my medications be affecting my magnesium levels? That one sentence could change the entire conversation. And if the cramps continue, if they persist despite real portions, consistent intake, proper hydration, and electrolyte balance, that is not a reason to give up. That is a reason to ask for blood work, a serum magnesium test, a potassium check, a broader look at what's happening. Because persistent leg cramps after 60 that don't respond to a well-supported food strategy deserve medical attention. Period. Your doctor never told you this, but I will. The reason you thought magnesium didn't work was never because the mineral was wrong. It was because the advice around it was incomplete. Too small a portion, too short a timeline, too little support from the rest of your minerals, and too little attention to what your body does differently after 60. This is not age. This is something your body is doing. And once you understand the 6 places where the process breaks down, you can stop guessing and start making informed choices. Before I let you go, there's one more thing, and this might be the most important part of everything I've said today. If a magnesium food didn't help you before, if you tried it and it did nothing and you felt like you wasted your time, that does not mean your cramps are hopeless. It does not mean magnesium was the wrong idea. It may only mean the amount was too small, or the body couldn't absorb enough, or the cramp pattern was pointing at something bigger that needed a doctor's eye, not a bigger handful of seeds. The food was not the failure. The framework was. Now, You know why magnesium foods can fail. You know the 6 mistakes. You know what to audit, what to pair, and when to escalate to your doctor. But there's something else happening after 60 that can wash all of that progress away at night, even if you're eating the right foods in the right amounts. It has to do with how your body manages fluid and mineral balance while you sleep. And most seniors have never heard a word about it. I cover exactly that in the next video. Watch it now.